Review codes provided by Glowfish Interactive, Monomi Park, and Over the Moon. I'm Jared.
I'm Marcus.
Level with us. Hello and welcome to Level With Us, the show where we have a cozy video game discussion every week. This week is our catch-up episode because we've been receiving a lot of review codes, and doing one episode a week, we start to fall behind. So this week we are doing three indie games that we received codes for, and we're going to talk about our first impressions of them, do a little mini review for each, and share a star piece and a quick jab for each one. Kind of like our triple-decker deck building episode, if you remember that, all the way back in Season 1. No, I'm just kidding. We don't have seasons. It was an early episode, though.
I like this. This is a good problem to have. Man, we are just so popular. People are just, it's like my friends in college who are like, gosh, I'm just going on so many dates. I don't have time for anything else.
I hate guys like that.
You're like, I don't need to know you. I already hate you. Anyway,
we're very grateful for these codes, for the record. We're very grateful for the opportunity to talk about these games. And there's quite a variety here. We're going to be talking about Trifox, which is a 3D action platformer, Slime Rancher 2, which is a first-person shooter farm sim, and The Last Hero of Nostalgaia, which is a soulslike with some satirical elements. So, like I said, quite a variety. But without further ado, let's get started. Let's begin with Trifox. So this game is an indie game that actually just came out this week. It's a 3D action platformer with kind of a top-down perspective. You play as a sly little fox who has to blast baddies and collect coins to upgrade his equipment. The main gimmick of this game is the progression system. There are 3 different classes of abilities you unlock throughout the game. And you can basically specialize in one class. I think it's like engineer, sorcerer, and fighter.
Fighter or warrior or something.
Or warrior. And so you can, like I said, specialize in one of those, or you can mix and match the abilities, which is kind of cool. I gravitated a lot to the engineering class. It's in that one you shoot missiles, you can create walls, and you can put down little turrets. And so the game sort of becomes more of an RTS, almost tower defense type of game.
That's very cool. I chose the fighter path, so I feel like I kind of missed out on some aspects of the gameplay. It felt really like a top-down, just very true-to-form action-adventure, since I was just swinging an axe around or something. Interesting. I didn't even know about the turrets and stuff like that. And I was also curious, Jared, do you know if you can re-spec later on in the game? I
don't know. I think once you've spent your coins, you've spent your coins. But everything you've unlocked, you can go back to at any time, because you can only assign the shoulder buttons and the triggers. You only got 4 different buttons to use these abilities, and then a variation on the dash with the B button. We played this one on Switch, for the record. It didn't run wonderful for me. It was a little slow and choppy sometimes, but totally playable. So I don't think you can respec, but you can mix and match the 4 different moves into whatever classes you want, as long as you pay for them. And honestly, that was my star piece for this game. I think the progression system is really solid, mainly in that the game is really stingy with coins. And so it makes you want to collect every possible coin you can as you're blasting through these levels. Most games, like 2D Mario games, I feel no inclination to collect coins. I mean, I do it, but I don't feel rewarded by it. Sure. So it's great that more modern games like Odyssey, give you stuff to do with those coins. Right. In this game, I was like, oh my gosh, I am only, 20 coins away from getting this one upgrade I really wanted. So it was encouraging me to comb these levels and blast absolutely everything.
Gotcha.
Do you have a star piece?
Yeah, my star piece is a star piece that I occasionally shout out for quite a few games, but the music is nice. It evokes kind of a action adventure, I don't know, Banjo and Kazooie type jungly vibe. I don't know if that's the best comparison.
No, I was getting like Grant Kirkhope vibes a little bit out of the music. I think that's an apt comparison, Banjo-Kazooie.
But yeah, I think that music plays a greater role than sometimes we think it does when it comes to like the feel of a game and what makes the difference between, a game that feels like a console game versus like an app or a mobile game.
Yeah.
I think that good music is a really important aspect of it. And I just remember at one point being like, I don't remember which track it was, but I was like, that's nice. That's nice. So that's my start piece.
Awesome. As far as quick jabs go, the characters in this game kind of look scary to me.
They're not pretty, especially, and we should say we played Tunic recently, so we know what a cute fox
We've
looks
played
like.
some cute foxy games this year. In fact, there's quite a few more coming out with the fox
year of the
protagonist.
fox
Yeah, I guess
for
so.
us video gamers.
But yeah, I concur.
Yeah, I think it's a stylistic choice. Like, it's a stylistic choice to do kind of the low poly texture thing that they did, but
Which I like, and I think the art for this game also looks awesome. But the characters themselves, it's the animation's pretty limited, and that might be part of it, as they're a little shaky, mistakey. But I was happy that most of this game is top down. So, what about you? Did you have one, or are you sharing my quick jab?
well, I will piggyback on yours and give a new one, double quick jab. I wish there was a little bit more to the impact animations when you attack creatures, and I don't know if this is just a swinging around an axe thing as a fighter. Like, when you kill the monsters, there's kind of a big impact, but before you kill them, it's more you're going swish through them, and the only indication that you've like hit them and done damage is the fact that you see the health bar go down.
Okay. So you would have liked more of a hit stop, or maybe them flashing to show they're taking the damage.
A little more of a visual indication, yeah.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, in this next game, there isn't much combat. Quite a different pace. Slime Rancher 2. How about you kind of explain what this game is?
Sure thing. I will do my best because I had not played Slime Rancher 1. I didn't really know what the gameplay would be like for this game. But it is a farm sim collect-a-thon where you are going out into an environment full of cute little slimes. You're sucking them up with your vac pack, and then you are depositing them within your little ranch. And they produce plorts, which are little gems that you can sell for money, and you can also plant vegetables and raise hens specifically, to feed the slimes. And slimes can also eat the plorts of other slimes to kind of have these mutation-type slimes. But yeah, so the gameplay is to, it's that loop of using slimes to get money, to get bigger slimes, to get money, to get a better ecosystem.
Which is absolutely what Farm Sims is all about. Just
That's true.
That really addicting money
Cycle.
to improve your gear, to get more money kind of thing.
Right.
It's worth noting this game is in early access, so it just launched on Steam for early access, which I wasn't actually familiar with how early access worked, but basically it means the game isn't technically launched yet, but that they want players to play it. And, if you buy your copy now, you get to experience the game early, and then once the game fully releases, you still own the game. And in this case, on the Steam page, they described that the game is in a highly polished state. Some of the parts of the island aren't available yet, and the story isn't complete, but everything else is basically the moment-to-moment gameplay is what the final product will be. And as someone who has played the first Slime Rancher a bit, and if anyone has played it before, I will say you know exactly what to expect for this game. The core loop is still there. I'd just say the visuals are much prettier, and it's the hub in general is kind of cool. It's this big greenhouse with a giant tree in the center, and it's really fun to go out and get slimes. There's lots of new types of slimes. There's these little bunny slimes, which are very cute. But yeah, it's more of the same, but the original game is so good, and I think this one is as well.
I would say that the primary gameplay of this game is inventory juggling. This idea of I need to bring back home 5 things, but I can only hold 4 things. So what am I gonna ditch? What am I gonna keep? And I actually kind of the first 30 minutes or so of me playing, I was kind of a little bit exasperated because I sucked up more slimes than I could like keep happy and feed. So like I just had a lot of slimes because I'm like, you're supposed to collect slimes. And I didn't have the money to like get stuff to feed them. I didn't have the plorts to like... Anyway, basically it helped me when I realized you don't have to like get just a whole lot of any one thing. You need to pace yourself in multiple departments to put together a well-oiled machine. So once I realized like, oh, the point of this is not to like be like, oh, I'm so good at, you know, sucking up just so many slimes. It's more about like being like, all right, I can only grab so many of these things. So let me purposefully choose to grab a couple rock slimes because it's far away and it's hard to get back home or whatever it is.
It's hard because you do want to suck up everything along the way. You want every little carrot and berry and
plorts.
Slime
you see
and plort.
Plorts in the wild, so it's like, hey, that's money. That's money laying on the ground. But if you grab the money laying on the ground, you have space to grab a chicken or whatever.
Right. To me, the game is at its best when you have a specific side quest. They'll give you these objectives where you're supposed to get this number of this type of slime and this number of this type of plort and this many hens and deposit them for a big cash bonus. And those were always really satisfying to me. And those were the most satisfying parts of Stardew Valley to me, is completing quests and just checking things off and getting lots of money to upgrade stuff.
Sure.
But yeah, would you say you said you played this game the most out of the three?
Yeah.
Do you have a star piece for it?
Yeah. Sorry, I looked down at my notes and it just says relaxing music. And I'm like, I can't do music twice in a row.
Hey, you're the music guy on our podcast.
Yeah, whatever.
That's totally fine.
I'm not even an expert on the music. Vibes. I like the vibes. No, I'll say this. I like that the upgraded like quality of life features really do feel like quality of life features. And I'm not talking about like of the game UI generally. I'm talking about like the individual pens within your ranch. Like once you trap your unwilling slimes, you can make the walls taller to keep them from escaping and stuff like that. But ultimately, what you want is to harvest the plorts, and you have to feed them to get them to produce them. So it eventually lets you do an auto feeder and an auto collector.
Right.
And, you know, like at a certain point, I was kind of just brute forcing. I was like, I'm not going to upgrade. I'm just going to like get a lot of different types of slimes. But when I realized, oh, you can get those specific upgrades, it actually did save a lot of time. So I guess what I'm saying is they smartly designed the way that you harvest things to make the quality of life things actually feel significant and relieving. Relieving
is a good word for it, because I too put way too many slimes in one pen, and they all kind of stack up on top of each other World War Z style and just start jailbreaking out. And then I like come back, 10 minutes later after venturing out into the world, I come back and my farm is just covered in pink slimes everywhere. How did this happen? And they're obviously very well animated and very cute. So it's entertaining to run into things like that. If I had a star piece, it would be how they found a way to combine the appearances of each slime, because they're all very cute. And so it's cool to see, oh, I have the bunny-eared one. I also have a pink bunny-eared one. Or, here's a cat one, but with bat wings. It's just kind of fun it's not a Pokemon game, but it almost feels like one sometimes when you're basically breeding them to create new types of slimes.
I actually had to look up how, I can't remember if they're Largo or Gordo slimes. I forget the real name for it, but those mutations, I had to look up what exactly they are. Just because it turns out if a mutated slime eats a plort that it doesn't produce, that's when it turns into a tar that can infect your entire farm.
Sure. Quick jabs real quick. For some reason, I got a little motion sick playing this game. I don't know what it is. It might be that you have a jetpack, so you start being a little floatier. It might be that I don't play a lot of first-person games, but for some reason, that kind of affected me a little bit. But I'm sure 99% of people won't experience that. But it was my experience, so quick jab.
Also, pertaining to it being first person, There was once or twice where I was knocked out and lost all my stuff, and I didn't realize I was in the process of getting knocked out because, kind of like Trifox with the lack of impact animation, I felt like there wasn't a big enough visual indicator that I was getting hurt. I was like, oh, I'm walking next to a little rock slime. That's good. That's fine. But it's making a little sound, and I'm like, I don't know what that... Oh, I'm dead. Oh, they knocked me out. Okay. Oh, and then... But also, after a few of those things happened, I actually turned off the confrontational slimes, which it lets you do in the first part of the game.
Oh, yeah.
Just because I was like, you know what? I don't need that.
And the game is already cozy as it is. I think it's totally fine to play it without having to worry about your health, for sure.
True gamers play with... I'm just joking.
Nah. But yeah, this is a cozy game. I recommend it to anyone who finds it interesting. It's in early access, so just keep that in mind. It's not a completed game yet. But yeah, if you're interested, you can check it out. And finally, the last game we're covering today is called The Last Hero of Nostalgaia. This is produced by Over the Moon, and this one's a bit interesting. It's a Souls-like, so it takes a lot of cues from Dark Souls. Very slow, deliberate combat, big world with winding pathways to explore. I'd say even the sound design takes a lot of cues from Dark Souls. Mm-hmm. But this game also has a sense of humor. And not that the FromSoft games don't have humor. It's just kind of hard to find it. The tone of this game is very different to those games.
Yeah.
You are put in a dark fantasy world, but you play as a line of pixels.
A literal stick figure.
Yes, exactly. And you can put armor on and stuff. My favorite gag of the entire game is the character customization screen, where it says, skin tone and jaw width, and it doesn't do anything. It's just a bunch of sliders, which is in line with another game this game takes inspiration from, which is the Stanley Parable, which we covered on the show. The creators of this game said they wanted to create a Souls-like because they love Souls-likes, but they wanted it to have a really sarcastic narrator kind of explaining what you're doing and fighting against your actions in the game, fighting against your progress. And for the most part, I think they accomplished what they set out to do. In this world, everything has become pixelated, and you're trying to restore its,
resolution.
HD visual. Yeah, exactly. Resolution. And they got some fun jargon.
I like the name of the starting classes in this. Like, instead of Paladin, there was Data Den.
One thing I quite like about this approach to a Souls-like is that it makes it accessible. As someone who, this is an all-ages podcast, and I vouch for games that try to appeal to a wider audience. And in this game, it's kind of funny. It can be dark and scary, but not gratuitous with its violence. Everything turns into pixels, after all.
Right.
Which, if you feel like you're missing out when it comes to Elden Ring or Dark Souls, and you might be turned off by the dark elements of those games, this could be a good alternative for you.
I'm a huge fan of Souls, but that dark stuff, I don't know.
Right. It's a Souls-like, not a dark-like.
Thank you, yeah. It was cool to play this after Elden Ring for me, or at least kind of thought-provoking, because I had not really played a true Souls-like before Elden Ring. And so this kind of gives me an example of something else within the genre. And I know that Elden Ring is genre bending because it's open world, and that's not necessarily in Souls-like usually. But I was happy that I was able to see the source material, right? This game's a bit of a parody, so it was cool that I was able to play something from software.
It nailed the feel for sure. I think the combat is pretty solid. It didn't feel... I've played games where I'm they're clearly trying to emulate this game, but it's jankier. Mm-hmm. For me, it was no, if you compare this to the original Dark Souls, this is right in line with that.
Okay.
You'll feel right at home. If you like Souls-likes, this will fit the glove. But yeah, as someone who also played Elden Ring, there are some quality of life elements in that game that I missed here.
Sure.
How the camera auto follows you, and I wish I could turn that off. Very minor, but not being able to jump, I got way too used to that.
Yeah, I kept on trying to jump and accidentally eating my potion.
Right. But yeah.
So you got a star piece?
Yes. There is a really cool item memory system. So you collect weapons and armor in this game, and some of these items will say a description of a place. Basically, it's last memory of a location or something that happened to them. So it might allude to a church or to a market or to an individual, an old man. And once you find one of those places, if you use the old noggin to find that location, you open up your inventory, go to that item, and it gains its memory back, and it suddenly obtains new perks. And one of my least favorite things of Souls-likes is that I feel like I can't use many weapons. I can only use a couple that fit my current build. And that's mostly still true here, but it was suddenly giving me more reasons to be like, oh, well, maybe I should use this weapon. It has a really cool perk now. And it makes you look at the world. It makes you want to explore more. It makes you want to pay attention to your surroundings more. And I think that's great. I think that's a super unique, interesting game design element that they included.
For sure. I think that that's a really good star piece. Mine was whenever you activate, I forget what they call sites of grace in this, memory location.
Torches, some bonfire, everyone knows what those are.
Right. Whenever you activate one of those, and I think in some other situations, there's this kind of animation where everything kind of is restored to full fidelity, and like this growing bubble wipes over the mismatched pixelization of the things around you. Because it's not like everything is a consistent pixelization. It's not like everything is 2D or whatever. It's all mismatched.
Yeah, it's blocky and low poly in some patches.
Right. So like seeing it kind of wash over the low poly stuff to restore the full fidelity, I thought was a really cool thing to watch, and kind of justified the entire idea of this being a mismatched resolution game.
It looks pretty sweet when it happens.
Yeah.
So that's a great star piece. How about a quick jab?
Yeah. Me first?
Yes, please.
So, snarky narrators are great. They're a lot of fun. I like them. But in a genre like this, where there's kind of an assumption that you're going to die a lot, I would expect to see a little bit more consideration of that in the lines of the narrator. For example, I mean, like, often, you won't hear the narrator the second time through. It, like, check marks, like, all right, you don't need to rehear this line. But I don't know how much more work this would have taken, but why not give him a secondary line? Why not have him tease you that, oh, here you are again, or that, oh, you died 5 times, why are you still trying to beat this boss? Because this, just inherent to the genre is, like, there's going to be a lot of that examining, and even it gives you, like, tips when you die of, like, hey, like, are you new to this? Let me kind of shepherd you in. So it, like, knows that a lot of players, especially early players, are going to be dying frequently. I would have loved to see a little bit more variety in how the narrator interacts with that.
I think that's an excellent suggestion. It says they take inspiration from the Stanley Parable, and I don't think they need to go full-on meta where they, break the fourth wall a ton of times, where it becomes obnoxious. I think it has a very strong identity already. I think they did a good job crafting that. I agree. I think it would be enhanced more if there was more taunting. If there was more, little stick figure, you're not going to make it through this. Like, it feels really good to finally break through a boss and prove that narrator wrong. So you're right. I think if there was maybe 1 or 2 alternate lines when you die.
Right. And you feel more seen when it, actually narrates what you're doing, because for whatever reason, there was one super early on room that I died like 5 or 6 times trying to get through, and I just didn't hear from the narrator during all that time. And I was like, okay, so it didn't expect me to take this long. I understand. All right.
You're like, I miss you. I'm so alone
where,
in this
where are you?
World. My star jab. Yeah. We got to make that a
Quick
thing
piece.
At some point. This is my star jab.
Hey, if we ever have something that's a pro and con... Anyway, continue.
For me, my quick jab is that this game reminded me that I haven't beaten Elden Ring.
Oof.
And that was really hard. I know. How dare they? No. I'm like 70 hours into that game, and I still have so much left, and I'm just kind of done with it. But I want to finish it, and I'm kind of feeling similar about this game, where I'm like, man, actually, this is a kind of a cool world. I want to see where it leads, but I don't know if I am going to be able to finish it, mostly just because I'm not very experienced at Souls-likes. I've gotten really frustrated whenever I've tried Dark Souls and Bloodborne. So, like I said, I don't know if I'll finish this one, but I can certainly recommend it, especially to players who love and just eat up that type of game and are looking for more. So, watch a trailer, see if the humor is up your alley, or if not, maybe the world is. But I think that will cover our 3 mini indie reviews for this week. So, thank you for joining me on this journey that we're on, Marcus.
You're welcome.
And to all our listeners, thank you very much as well
for joining us in this journey we're on.
Yes. We've got another episode planned for next week, but following that, we've got our 50th episode special. And the reason I'm bringing that up now is because this is your chance, dear listeners, to send in any questions you want us to answer on the show. It can be about games, our opinions on games. It can be about our personal lives. Just get really deep and really gut punchy with them, you know?
Make sure it crosses some boundaries of
Make sure
propriety.
You cross some lines. Yeah. It's more entertaining that way.
For sure.
If you want to submit a question to us, you can tweet us at LVLWithUs, or you can send us an email at levelwithUspodcast@gmail.com. But until next time, I'm Jared.
I'm Marcus.
And we'll level with you then.
Can I just say Nostalgaia is a beautiful name for a game. I'm actually a big fan of the name. It's specifically the Last Hero of Nostalgaia, but just adding the extra A, I love it. I think it's very funny.
Why do you like it? Just because it sounds like nostalgia? Just the pun?
Well, because it is, it's spelled exactly the same as nostalgia, but you pronounce the G instead of J, like Ga, because Gaia is such a video game thing.
That's fair.
Calling it Nostalgaia, I think, is very pretentious, and I like it.
I need to look more closely at the names of some of these things.
Right, like Slime Rancher 2, what does the 2 mean?